I'm Annie Larkin, Vice President and Director of Community Engagement of the Amerind Museum. Welcome to Amerind's Children's Book Reading with Violet Duncan. Before we begin the program today, I want to acknowledge that Amerind is located in southeastern Arizona, on lands where O'odham, Hopi, Oshwe, Uwemit, and Apache families have lived for untold generations, and whose wisdom and traditions live on today in vibrant communities. We are grateful for what all of these communities, rich in history, have to teach us. Thank you to our program sponsor, Desert Diamond Casinos, as well as our members and donors who enable Amerind to provide free online programming and to fulfill Amerind's mission to foster and promote the knowledge and understanding of the Native peoples of the Americas through research, education, conservation, and community engagement. To learn how you can assist Amerind in supporting its mission and programs by becoming a member or donor, please visit amerind.org. On Saturday, September 17th, the Texas Canyon Mountain Bike Race will take place at the Amerind Museum campus. To learn more, please visit the events section of Amerind's Facebook page or website, amerind.org, for registration details. I would now like to introduce today's guest. Violet Duncan is Plains Cree Taino from Kehewin Cree Nation, touring nationally and internationally since 1991. She has performed for audiences across the United States, Canada, and Europe through work as a native dancer, hoop dancer, choreographer, storyteller, and author. Violet is former Miss Indian World, representing Indigenous peoples of North America. Much of her work is centered on strengthening and empowering Indigenous youth. After becoming a mother of four and seeing the need for Native representation in literature, she authored 3 award-winning books: I Am Native, When We Dance. She recently joined the family of Penguin Random House with 2 new children's books coming out in 2023 and 2024. Violet is currently the Indigenous Cultural Advisor at the Tempe Center for the Arts, where she aims to create space for permanent programs of Indigenous performance and practice. If you'd like to ask any questions during the program today, please type your question in the Q&A chat box, and we'll gather those and give them to Violet after her presentation. Also, a link to today's recording will be sent to all of our Zoom registrants via email later today. Along with the recording, we will share the link to Violet's website, violetduncan.com, where you can purchase copies of her books. And with that, I'd like to welcome Violet Duncan. Thank you so much for joining us, Violet.
Thank you, Annie, for that lovely introduction. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Danse, Nitsigasun Gayaski Sigisquel. It's a beautiful day to be here. My Cree name is Old Sky Woman, and I say it in my Cree language. As I'm trying to learn my language and coming back to it, I learn more and more and more about the histories of our people and where we come from. My grandmother had just passed this summer, but we were on a beautiful trail of learning my language and understanding where I come from. And she always told me, as soon as you know where you come from, and as soon as you step back into the footsteps and the trails of your ancestors, you'll know where you're going as you move forward. And so learning my language was my way of reclaiming that and identifying and learning where I come from. So I make sure that me and my 4 children learn how to say our names and our greeting and even a short prayer in our language. And that's our journey to learning our language a little bit more. So my Cree name is Old Sky Woman. I am from Kehewin Cree Nation, and that's in northern Alberta, Canada. I am Plains Cree on my father's side and Taino Nations on my mother's side. So the Taino Nations, a lot of people say, what, there's still Tainos here? And yes, it was the very first Native nation that the discoverer or the voyager met a long, long time ago, 500 years ago, in the Arawak Nation in Cuba, or in the seas there, and that's my nation. And so the Taino Nation is still around. We are 500 strong in New York City, and all throughout the United States and Canada, you'll find little tiny pockets of people from the Taino Nation. And I'm really proud of that. And we are learning a little bit more also about the language of the Taino Nation. We actually named our very first daughter Manaya. Now they are 13 years old, but Manaya is actually one of the few weapons that the Taino Nation would use, because they were very gentle, peaceful nation from the islands, and they had very, very few weapons, as they had no need to have any warring. But they did have a secret weapon that they called the manaya, and we called our eldest daughter that because she was like, or they were like our secret weapon. And so we tried to keep our language in everything that we do, from naming our children to speaking to saying our prayers to also having a tiny little bit in some of these books that I want to share with you here today. As Annie had mentioned, I have 3 children's books. These ones I self-published all by myself. And if you have any questions about self-publishing, writing a book, that journey, I would love to answer any of those. I am now traditionally published. I have 2 children's books coming out next year and the year after. But a little secret, I just signed a contract for my very first middle school book. And I have that one coming out, I think they said 2024. So fingers crossed we get that one out as soon as possible. But I'm really, really excited about this writing journey. Storytelling has been a huge part of my family ever since I was a small child. Both of my parents are storytellers. My father sharing the stories from the Cree Nation, my mother sharing the stories that people would just meet my mother and say, I need to tell you this story. I want you to pass it on. I want you to continue telling it. And my mother has this beautiful voice and this beautiful way of sharing a story. And so when you would give her your story, she would bring it to life in all of the different voices and sounds and telling of it, and even deeper insight knowledge. So she was gifted many, many stories from across Turtle Island. And in such, when we were small children traveling across Canada, we were also given the opportunity to hear about the sleeping giants as we passed through the Rocky Mountains, or hear about the monsters that swam in the sea monsters of the Pacific Northwest, or hear about Nanabojo, the trickster that lived in Ontario that had the shape of a rabbit. My very favorite stories are actually those trickster stories. I'm going to share one with you today about trickster from my area. We actually don't say his name until the snow is on the ground, because that is traditionally the time of storytelling. But we've been given the go-ahead from our elders to tell these stories all year round, as long as we don't wake up trickster, we don't say his name when it's not winter time, because we don't want him bringing all of the cold, because that's when he comes out, when it's cold and the snow on the ground. And they say that just like in the winter time, that when we tell our stories, we also get to kind of binge these stories, just like how you Netflix binge. We binge storytelling. We hear them one after another. So all of the harvesting that you did in the summertime and in the fall time, we get comfy cozy in the winter time, and we hear all the stories. We bring out the popcorn, and we bring out all of the corn and the vegetables and all of the sweets like pemmican that we've been harvesting all seasons, and we sit down and we listen to the storyteller. And what happens is there's one animal in particular that doesn't get to hear any of the stories because he's sleeping, and that is Muskwa, or the bear. And they say that if you are not kind in this life, if you do not listen, and if you are not gentle with your words, that you will become a bear in your next life, and you will sleep all through the winter time, and you won't get to listen to any of the stories. So make sure you are being kind in this life so you don't come back as a bear and miss all of the stories. That definitely kept me and my siblings behaving as we traveled in the car, listening to the stories, because we wanted to hear all of them. We wanted to hear why the skunk got his smell, how the stripe came on the squirrel. We wanted to hear about how the different plants and how they provide medicine. There's a plant for everything. Sometimes it's a tea, sometimes it's what you eat, sometimes it's what you cook with, and it'll help maybe your heart, it'll help maybe your tummy, it'll help your hair. But within these stories are history lessons, are reminders of how to live in a good way. So as I share these stories with you here today, sometimes it's not about the story. Sometimes it's about the little ingredient, the recipe that's within the story. And sometimes it's the lesson that you hear. at the very end of the story, I never say, and many storytellers never say, and the lesson is to listen, or the lesson is to be kind. And that's because you're meant to listen to the story to see what you're supposed to learn. Every time we would hear our stories from my parents, they'd say, and what did you learn? And even though it'd be the exact same story we heard yesterday, we're going to hear it again tomorrow, we'd always hear a different lesson, a lesson on why we need to listen twice and speak once, why we need to be respectful and acknowledge our elders, why our children are the best teachers of kindness, of respect, and of love. And these lessons are right there within the story. And so I hope you enjoyed the story here today. And of course, if you have any questions, we have the Q&A box. I'm just going to kind of shrink it. I think I brought it here, but we're answering any questions at the very end that you might have so along the way. So if a question comes to mind, throw it in that Q&A box, and then we can always get back to it. And away we go. So let me share with you these 3 story books. I Am Native is my latest book that I wrote. This one is about a multi-generational family just living life in today's modern world. When we do a lot of school visits, they say, do you guys live in teepees? Or do you guys eat the same food that we eat? Do you ever go to a drive-through? And I'm like, are you kidding? I love my burgers. And so this is a reminder to our young people, to our educators, that we are still here, and that even though we dress in modern clothing, we still practice our culture. We still recognize the language that is woven into everything. And so I'm actually just going to read a few pages. This is called I Am Native. I am native. I am a dancer. I dance the jingle dress dance. My mom braids my hair in 2 braids. I dance to bring healing and happiness to the powwow with my family. Little hummingbird here says, in native cultures, boys grow their hair long. It is the sign of a warrior. We have 2 boys in our family, and they both have long hair. And so definitely that question arises in their school. Why do you grow your hair long? How come you do that? And it's a sign of a warrior, and it's to show that the longer you have your hair, the more of that connection you have to all of the environment all around you. And it's been backed up scientifically that all of what I ate for breakfast is now it's a sign in my hair. If I've been drinking my water and taking my vitamins, it's all shows in the DNA in your hair. And so you could see that maybe where you were grieving, or maybe where you were on this, a health kick, it's all interwoven. It's all in the DNA in your hair. It carries all of your memories. And so that way, when somebody passes, when we cut our hair, we're grieving and we're letting go, and we're moving past. And even though healing is different, cutting your hair shows that you honor that person. And that's kind of the only time that we would cut our hair, is when we're in the grieving process. But modern times, I mean, Native people can have long hair, Native people have short hair, have in-between lengths. We're not all a monolith, where we are one nation. Over 562 nations just in the United States. And maybe the Lakota wear their hair in 2 braids. Traditionally in the Hopi, they have a blunt cut that kind of goes around, and that's actually more to be as a sun protection on their neck and on their forehead. So we all wear our hair differently. I am native. I am a dancer. I dance in ballet class. My mom wraps my hair in a tight bun in my dance class. I practice different ballet positions in my tutu. Now, these are my little girls here. Now, they both dance jingle at the powwow and ballerinas in ballet class. And that I really thought it was important to show that direct side by side within dance, to show that we are doing modern dance classes as well. I am native. I am an athlete. I practice hoop dancing every week. My dad teaches me new designs to create with my hoops. Hummingbird here says, hoop dancing is a form of storytelling, and it is also called the circle of life dance. So we actually practice probably more than once a week. I was being modest in this one. But actually today, my son has a basketball game. So he'll be going to that. I am native. I am an athlete. I practice basketball twice a week at the gym. My friends and I have fun playing on our team. So this is really, I told my children, I want to make sure you see yourself in literature. And I took it literal. These are actual images of my children. This is my grandmother, my kukum. This is my little Nitanis. And these are real pictures turned into paintings with a paint program. So even if you're not an illustrator, you can still get your picture book out there. I am native. I am a chef. I am cooking with my great grandmother in the bush. We are making bannock. Kukum means grandmother in Cree, and Japan means great grandmother in Cree. So this hummingbird is really important throughout the story as she drops some truth bombs as we go throughout it. I am native. I am a chef. I am cooking with my grandmother at home. We are making a cake with my sister. And that's my mom right there. You know, what was really interesting is that when I showed my kukum this page, she was so happy to see herself in a picture book. And I just had no idea that not only do our children need to see themselves properly represented in books, our elders need to see themselves properly represented in books and happy and beautiful positions. And that inspired actually my next book that comes out with Penguin Random House. It's called We Are All Related. And it features my grandmother and it features my baby Nitanis. Their names are changed in the book, but it's basically their relationship around the life cycles of how we teach our children to have respect for all things, that we are all related to everything and everyone. So that was an honor now in homage to my kukum, because our elders too need to see themselves represented within our books. I am native. I am an artist. I love beading pieces for my family. I bead different colors and designs together to tell a story. Hummingbird says, many native nations adorn their regalia with porcupine quills, elk teeth, shells, and beads. I am native. I am an artist. I love painting pictures for my family. I mix different paint colors together to create a beautiful picture. All right, so that's just a couple of pages from I Am Native. I actually only have one distributor that has these books for sale. They're called Books by the Bushel. I'm gonna have their link on my website if you're interested in purchasing any of the books. So that's my newest book that just came out 2020, right before the pandemic took off. We had our huge book release and it was really, really exciting, but it was kind of sad that the pandemic happened right after that. Now, this is my very first book. It's called When We Dance. This is the book that started it all, that I wanted a book that shared the connection that we have to dance. My daughter at the time said, why do we dance? Who do we dance for? And she was in Tiny Tots and she was 2 years old. And we'd say, when you dance for those who can't dance anymore. You dance for those who came before you, our ancestors, and we dance for those who came after you, your future generations. We dance for everyone, and that's what this book is all about. One morning, as the sun stretched its rays across the horizon, a whispered breeze blew softly, welcoming a new baby girl, and her mother named her Nipis, Little Leaf. I really, really had fun with the illustrations in this book. Little Leaf grasped at her mother's finger. Her proud mother spoke softly to her baby. My little leaf, life is a dance that we share together. Little Leaf grew and grew, and her mother would hold her small hands as she wobbled across emerald-colored grass. As she took her first steps in the dance of life, her mother said, when we dance for everyone and everything. Little Leaf smiled and danced the first steps as light pink flowers tickled her bare toes. Okay. Time went by and Little Leaf would run and play until her hair whipped messily behind her. The crisp air created puffy, pearly clouds that streamed from her mouth as she ran. Little Leaf would watch the leaves tumble all around her in beautiful colors of copper and gold. "Can you see the leaves falling?" asked her mother. "They dance on the wind to make way for the new leaves that will grow in the spring. And when we dance, we are like the leaves. We dance for the ones that we have never met." And Little Leaf danced with the leaves as they crackled and crunched beneath her feet. 8 winters had gone by and Little Leaf grew tall and strong. One morning, the ground was blanketed in snow that sparkled like diamonds. Little Leaf watched as the frosty air made the drifting snowflakes twirl all around her. And in her laughing playfulness, she began to twirl along with the snowflakes. Little Leaf remembered her mother saying that everyone is unique, just like the snowflakes. And for all the different people in the world, Little Leaf danced for them with her arms outstretched. As the years went by, Little Leaf grew into a young woman. She would sit with her mother beside a warm, sun-kissed valley, breathing in the sweet smell of earth and flowers. "My little leaf," her mother would say, "all of life dances in a circle. When we dance, we are dancing for those who came before us and those that will come after us. All of life is a dance that we share together." And I'm going to tease you with that as well, and that's just a small excerpt from that book. We're going to get into a full story coming up, but I'm going to share with you a trickster story. This is my middle book that I wrote. This one won an award for Best Book Award on a national level. Actually, I Am Native won internationally as the Best Book Award. But this one is actual, this one didn't go through a paint program. This is real images, because they said in When We Dance, "Do you guys always wear your regalia?" And I said, "No, we wear basketball shorts when we practice." And another father said, "I never see the fathers in the book." And I'm like, what? Fathers are awesome. I think my husband is an incredible father. And I wanted to highlight Indigenous fatherhood in this book to show just how powerful our dads can be. And this book recognizes that and represents that beautiful relationship. It's also inspired by my son. There once was a boy named Naichi. Naichi loved to dance. He would dance from morning until night. His favorite dance was the hoop dance. Every day he would wake up his dad and say, "Let's hoop dance." Oh, Naichi had a set of 4 hoops that his dad made just for him. He would take his hoops everywhere, in the car, to the park, even to the grocery store. Naichi would practice hoop dancing all the time because he wanted to be a great hoop dancer like his dad. This is a real picture of him carrying around his hoops in the grocery store. And we would always get asked, "Why does he have those hula hoops? That's a lot of hula hoops." We'd say, "No, it's his hoops to hoop dance." Naichi's dad loved to dance too. He was a great hoop dancer because he would practice every day. Father and son would put on their favorite drumming music and dance the hoop dance together. Early one morning before the sun came up, Naichi went into his dad's room and whispered, "Let's hoop dance." With a yawn and a quick stretch, Naichi's dad was awake and reaching for his hoops. They both went to the backyard to hoop dance. "Before we dance, we honor the 4 directions," said Naichi's dad. "We start in the east. We raise our hoops up to give thanks when the sun rises and blesses us with a new day. Next, we turn to the south and raise our hoops up to say thank you for the warm winds. We turn to the west and remember the setting sun." "Naichi, do you know who comes up when the sun goes down?" his dad asked. "The moon," Naichi answered. "That's right, the moon. And the last direction is the north. Do you remember what the north is known for?" asked Naichi's dad. The North is known for the cold, snow, and our elders like Grandma and Grandpa, replied Naichi. Very good, exclaimed his dad. They lay down their hoops. Okay, son, we always start with one hoop. What does this one hoop remind you of? Naichi listed all the things it reminded him of. The sun and the moon and the earth. Yes, all of those are good, said his dad. The hoop is very important because it reminds us that there is no end and no beginning. Everything is always moving, just like the seasons, spring, summer, fall, winter, and back to spring. And that was your excerpt for Let's Hoop Dance. Now I am working on my next book that I'm self-publishing. So even though I have a couple books coming out, or a few books coming out with Penguin Random House, I'm still self-publishing my books. And that's, I just think you gotta keep up with it. And so this is my newest book that I want to read with you a couple of pages. It's called You Are Loved by Me, and it is dual languaged, and it's called Kisagitin. And so everything that is said in Cree is also said in English. And this book is basically created because I wanted to say more than I love you to my children. I wanted to say I'm proud of you. I wanted to say your hair is beautiful. And so I had these phrases made up. So as parents, we can say all these beautiful things in the language to our babies. This one says, Kisagitin, you are loved by me. And this is the mommy here with the baby in the cradle board. And this is what it looks like on the word side. It's also in syllabics for phonetic learners. Nisagi din gepatatan kinagamoin egwa kanehilin egwan kimusum. I love to hear you sing and hum and speak our language, just like Musham. Nisagi din ka siga ego na squin egwa ka sisik wata datan. I love to brush your long, strong hair and braid it for you with love and care. Now this one I took a try at painting myself, and I am not anywhere near an artist. So this was actually a lot of fun to create this, to do these paintings, just really simple paintings. So a child picks it up and kind of sees how they would probably paint it. And I wanted to keep the illustrations really simple. Nisagitin mamawi namito tak kapos kamin kabikigan maskasina. I love when we can dance together, wearing our moccasins made of moose hide leather. Okay, another excerpt. That's all you get. Get me again and we'll read the whole story. But this is Nisagitin or Kisagitin, You Are Loved by Me. The next, it's going to be a board book, so it's going to be interesting. I had a final rough edit this summer. Before my grandmother had passed, she shared with me a few more edits, and she's really proud of that book coming out. So I'm going to take her edits and I'm going to rework some of the language so more people who are familiar with the Cree language can read it a lot more easily. But I want to share with you my very favorite trickster story before we go. It's called How Trickster Lost His Eyeballs. And if you're familiar with it, then you know it's my very favorite story. If you're not, Trickster is actually sometimes seen as a coyote, as a man, as a rabbit, and he shapeshifts. And so many of the stories, Trickster could be seen as a coyote walking. And just like Bugs Bunny and Wile E. Coyote, sometimes he'll stand on his hind legs and he'll talk just like a human being, but he'll be in the form of coyote. And so if you can imagine Trickster as a coyote, and always being tricky, always trying to do what's not right, because Trickster shows us what not to do. And as we go through life, it's easy to say we need to listen, but you want to know why do we need to listen? And it's easy to say sit still, why? What will happen if I don't sit still? And having Trickster not sit still and not listen shows our young people and our older people, I mean, it's good for us to learn too, of what happens when you don't listen, what happens when you don't sit still and pay attention, or what happens when you're not being respectful. And so our teacher is Trickster, and I love these stories because Trickster is so mischievous and would do things that you shouldn't be doing, but he would get the result as well of what happens. And it's I think that's a good teacher when you kind of learn from someone else's mistakes so you don't go through it as well. So Gaias, long time ago, Trickster was walking through the forest. The sun was shining, the river was flowing, and the grass was growing. And Trickster heard a sound in the bush. He looked through and parted the branches, and there was a giant on a hill, and he was singing this song. His eyeballs popped out of his head, spun around, and took off. Giant talked about all the many things he could see, the people of many different colors, the birds and animals he'd never seen before. And then that giant sang that song again. His eyeballs popped back in his head. "Ow!" said Trickster, and he went running over. "Hey, brother, giant, look down here. You need to show me this trick. This is the best trick I've ever seen." Giant looked down. "Oh, hello there, Trickster. It is a beautiful day, yes." "No, I'm not talking about the day," said Trickster. "I want to learn that trick, the trick where you send your eyeballs." "Ah," he said, "you want to learn this trick? Well, first you need this magic drum and drumstick, and then you need to learn the song that I'm going to sing to you, and then I will teach you the teachings of the trick." "I don't want to learn all that. I don't have time for all that," said Trickster. "Here, just hand me your magic drum and drumstick. I already know the song." "Oh," said Giant. He handed it down, and it started to shrink down to Trickster's size, and Trickster sang that song. His eyeballs popped out of his head, spun around, took off, and Trickster started talking about all the many things he could see, the people of many different colors, the birds and animals he'd never seen before. And then Trickster sang that song again. His eyeballs popped back in his head. "Oh," said Trickster. "Oh, this is the best trick I've ever done. I need to teach everyone this trick." And Giant said, okay, you can go and show your friends this trick. But listen, you can only do this trick 4 times in one day, from sun up to sundown. If you do this trick more than 4 times, for sure, you will lose your eyeballs. "No problem. 4 times, one day, you got it," he said. And he started to run down to show someone his trick. "I wonder who's awake now. Oh, I wonder if Bear's awake. No, maybe Raccoon. Oh, I'm going to show everyone this trick," he said. And just as he was almost through the tree line, Giant said, "Hey, listen, Trickster. Remember, you've already done this trick 1 time. You only have 3 more times to go." Trickster said, I heard you. 4 times in one day. I get it. I'm listening." And just then he ran right through and boom, bumped into somebody who was tall with black fur and sharp claws. "Rawr," she said. You guys know who that one was? That was Musqua. "Ee, don't eat me," said Trickster. "I'm not gonna eat you," said the bear. "You just scared away all the fish here. How am I supposed to feed my family?" Trickster looked around, and across the stream there was 3 little hungry cubs. "Oh, I know. I can help you find more fish. I can send my eyeballs to tell you where all the fish are." Bear's tummy rumbled. "All right, show me this trick." "Okay, watch closely, because this is the best trick you'll ever see." His eyeballs popped out of his head, spun around, took off. He told Bear about all the different fish that were out there. Salmon, pickerel, whitefish. His eyeballs went out from stream to river, river to ocean. He said he could even see Free Willy. He said he could see Free Willy 1, 2, and 3. And then he sang his eyeballs back. His eyeballs popped back in his head. "Trickster," said Bear. "That's the best trick I've ever seen. You need to show everyone that trick." And Trickster said, "Yeah, everyone. And then he went walking off to find someone to show his trick to. And as he was looking off, he couldn't find anyone until he heard, "Oh," like totally, "Oh." Do you guys know who that one was? That was Sister Wolf. "Hey, Sister Wolf, come here. I have a trick to show you." "Trickster, like talk to the paw, because the jaw don't give a da." "Sister Wolf, come on, you gotta see this trick. This is the best trick you'll ever see." "Oh, Trickster, if it'll get you out of my fur, then show me this trick already." Trickster said, "All right, we gotta watch closely. This is the best trick you'll ever see." His eyeballs popped out of his head, spun around, and took off. He started telling all the different things that Wolf could eat, like the squirrel and the rabbit. His eyeballs went flying way to the east, and he saw the stoic brown wolf, and to the north, the white wolf, and to the west, the red wolf, and the gray wolf, and all the different wolves that were out there. His eyeballs went so far and out a wolf could see, and she was looking. His eyeballs were so far away, she couldn't see any of that. And then Trickster sang that song again. His eyeballs popped back in his head. Like, "OMG, Trickster, you need to show everyone that trick." And Trickster said, "Yeah, I know." And he went walking off, real cool, trying to show more friends his trick. And as he was looking around, he started to count, "How many times did I do my trick?" He said. Okay, there was bear, and then there was wolf, and then Trickster was interrupted. "Hey, brother, sister birds, come down here. I have a trick to show you." No, don't worry. I'm not going to eat you this time. Just come down here. Let me show you this trick. This is the best trick you'll ever see. Much better than that trick. I bet you guys didn't know you could understand bird, hey? Very complicated language. His eyeballs popped out of his head, spun around, took off. He started telling those birds about all the different trees that were out there, like the saguaro cactus and the palm tree, like the maple tree, and trees that you can build 2 nests instead of 1. And then Trickster sang that song again. Eyeballs popped back in his head. Trickster, that's the best trick we've ever seen. You need to show everyone that trick. And Trickster said, "Yeah, I know." And one of the birds said, "You know what? I bet you can see farther than Eagle." And Eagle was given the gift of farsight from the Creator. "Yeah," said Trickster, "I can see farther than Eagle. I can see farther than anyone. Bring it on." "You mean you want us to bring Eagle here to you?" "Yeah, tell him we're gonna have a see-off." "Okay." And the birds flew off to go find Eagle. Trickster was so confident in his trick that he just waited there. But it wasn't long when a small black dot appeared in the sky. It circled over top, and Eagle landed. "Hey, Trickster, what's this I hear that you can see farther than I? I was given the gift of farsight from the Creator." "Yep, I can see farther than you. I can see farther than anyone." "All right," said Eagle. "Show me this trick." "All right, but you know what? Kind of just gotta stretch a little bit. You know, it's kind of hard to be awesome like all day. You know what I mean?" Well, you probably would know what I mean, but it's hard to be awesome. "Trickster, come on. I haven't got all day," said Eagle. All right, be patient," said Trickster. He warmed up a little bit, started to warm up his drum. "This is gonna be good," said Trickster. His eyeballs popped out of his head, spun around, took off. He started telling Eagle about all the many things he could see, the people of many different colors, the birds and animals he'd never seen before. His eyeballs went flying way up high into outer space, and they danced in a great circle. They went flying way down into the ocean. They went so deep that they said they could even see SpongeBob and his friend Patrick. His eyeballs went swishing all the way to the coast. He said he even saw a sighting of the megalodon. His eyeballs went flying way far east east, east. They'd never gone before. And he said he saw horses running with black and white stripes on them. His eyeballs went flying, and Eagle was looking and searching, and it was true. Trickster could see farther than him. And then Trickster sang that song again. But his eyeballs didn't come back. Eagle was standing there. Hey, Trickster, where are your eyeballs? Oh, said Trickster, I bet they're so far away that they can't even hear me anymore. I need to sing really loud this time. Wouldn't it be nice if everyone who's all over the world can help me sing? Do you guys know the song? Do you think you can help him sing his eyeballs back? Yeah, if you're all alone, even the better. Try and sing as loud as you can. Ready? 3, 2, 1. I know some of you didn't even try it. You gotta try it. Come on, you gotta learn this song. Ready? Good. 3, 2, 1. Well, his eyeballs didn't come back. And maybe because some of you weren't trying. No, just kidding. His eyeballs didn't come back, and he was waiting there and searching. And Eagle said, I told you, I was given the gift of far sight from the Creator. And he flew off. And Trickster was standing there kind of embarrassed. Oh man, where are my eyeballs? He said. So he started to feel around on the ground, and he found a teeny tiny stone and stuck it in his eye. Everything was so tiny that he had to even it out. So he grabbed a great big crystal and he stuck it in the other eye. He had one big eye and one little eye. And it was kind of like having 50-10 vision. He was walking into this and walking to that. And just then he felt something, and he was feeling it, and it was Giant's leg. Hey, what are you doing? He said. Can't you see where you're going? Don't you have any? Trickster, where are your eyeballs? Trickster looked around. Oh, is that you, my friend? Hello, Giant. I'm just walking this way. I'll talk to you another time. Didn't you listen? Said Giant. He took his magic drum and drumstick back, and in one step, Giant was gone. And it is believed today that Trickster is still out there looking for his eyeballs, but that is another story. Thank you so much for joining us here on Storytime with Amerind. At this time, I would love to open it up for any questions that you have, any questions about the storytelling, any questions about writing. I want to give a special shout out to my parents. Their names are Rosa and Melvin John. They have their own dance company called Kehewin Native Dance Theater. And every summer I join them as their seamstress and costume designer and a little bit of a facilitator in power dancing. And they're just incredible. And they're the ones that shared many of the traditional stories with me growing up. And they definitely inspired me to continue writing my stories. And also a shout out to my husband and my children for being the inspiration behind all of the stories that I've written, and to continue sharing, because representation in literature, in our stories, is so, so important. Not only have I learned for our young people, but also for our elders to see themselves accurately represented. So thank you so much for listening and taking this journey with me. Let me know if you have any questions. I think Annie will come on and see if anybody has any questions that are available. And yeah.
All right, thank you so much. That was absolutely fantastic, Violet. It's always a pleasure when we have you as a guest. One question we have is, did you start writing at a young age?
I've always been a storyteller. And yeah, definitely not a storyteller, but a writer. So I actually didn't realize that journey until after these books started coming out. And somebody said, I knew you would start telling your stories. You always had so many stories. And I said, I did? And they said, yeah, you always were writing. And I just completely forgot that I was always writing little stories. And I found a couple of them. And most of them are actually scary, because I love a good mystery horror story. So I kind of took a U-turn and went to children's style. But maybe my next young adult will have a little bit of horror and mystery to it.
Right when you said that, thunder outside of my window. What advice would you give to young aspiring writers?
To just write it out, write your stories in completion. There's actually so many places where they want you to submit. So it's not like the old days where you have a finished manuscript and then you kind of mail it off to different publishers. A lot of publishing houses now have editors that they do certain times of the year that they call for submissions that are from women writers, from Indigenous writers, from mystery or children's books. So wait for those submission calls, because most of the time they'll ignore you the other times. But if you can submit something during those submission calls, it really opens a nice window, because you can kind of go right to an editor. And if you ever have problems with getting to a traditional publishing houses, they love this new format of self-publishing, because then you already have an idea what it looks like to write to completion, like editing, making many drafts, getting it perfect, and then marketing and creating the book. So you already know the behind the scenes, and publishing houses love that they don't have to explain that to you. So I forget what they call this. Oh, they call us hybrid authors when you are self-published. So I definitely recommend, if you can't get into a traditional publishing house, self-publish it, learn all you can, because publishing houses actually prefer that you kind of learn the ins and outs, so that way you understand the language that they'll use when they bring you aboard.
And you may have answered this in part just now, but how long does it take to get the story from conception to published?
Okay, I had, like, the stories are in your head, but once you kind of go from pen to paper to finally having it in your hand, the shortest turnaround I had was a year. And that's because the illustrations, like Photoshop and Google and YouTube, learning how to do these. But if you're already an artist and you have a great story, you can just get it done in like 6 months. And you just got to find a printer and learn all about the ISBN code, which is, I don't have one yet, but the barcode will eventually go here, and you can get a barcode. That way you are in all of the library cataloging. So you can sell and you can send it to bookstores, which is important to me, and schools can find your books. And those are like, I think those barcodes are like $100 forever. You don't have to like buy one individually. So once you get a barcode for your book, and there's lots of places that you can buy barcodes from. And if you don't want to sell, you just want an awesome book, even better, it's faster. You don't have to buy anything. But yeah, it's all about finding a printer that you feel ethically responsible to, because I make sure that all my books are printed locally, if not locally, then nationally, because a lot of times when we go overseas, there's a lot more difficulty finding a printer that you can trust. So I like printers where you can like talk to the person and ask all of your non-printer questions, because even I didn't know what CMYK was, and they said, is it CMYK or RBG? And that means, it's the colors, cyan, magenta, the other ones, and RBG is red, blue, green. And I'm like, I don't know what the heck. So I Googled that. I'm like, oh my goodness, they're asking the color coding. And so I don't know, I find local printers are more understanding of you not knowing the lingo, rather than international ones where, they deal with real publishing houses that should know this stuff. But yeah, I think the shortest it took was a year. It's not a rush. Definitely take your time writing it, get the whole story out, write it many, many times. And then there's really cool websites like Fiverr, Fiverr, where you can send your manuscript, and there's editors that come from Columbia, Columbia University, Harvard University, depending on what story you're writing. You can get these incredible editors to edit your book or your story for like $40 because they're on these awesome websites where they just kind of do this in their spare time. It's like their side gig. So there's lots of cool stuff out there now for people who are taking it by the reins themselves.
And our last question, you are part of an incredibly talented family. Incredibly is probably understated. Are there upcoming opportunities to see your family perform?
Definitely. We have lots of stuff on the go. And next weekend is Santa Fe Indian Market. And that's the largest Indian market in the United States. And of course, it's held in Santa Fe. We are on the main stage on Saturday at 11 a.m. and on Sunday at 1 p.m. And there's lots of festivals and markets like that all throughout the year that we participate in. And we are really trying to take our children's lead and making sure what they want to share, what they feel is important. And we love that they are taking the microphone more, introducing themselves, telling stories. And so if you want to check us out, that's where we'll be next. After that, where are we going to be? We're going to be in North Dakota. The Mandan Hidatsa Rikra, they just opened up a brand new performing arts facility. And we're going to be there August 31st. And we're really, really excited about that one because I think we're the very first performers to perform on their stage. And so that's coming up. And a lot of these events that we do are public, that we do with museums, but definitely check us out on Instagram, Facebook, because we go live all the time telling stories, talking about our next work that we're doing. I had a couple of live feeds when I was working on this. So you can see like the painting process of the mess. I had acrylic paint everywhere and kind of what the inspiration was behind each of those. So follow us on all of the social media formats. My husband is especially really good at going live because he plays beautiful flute music. There's our flutes, like a quarter of them. We have 10 million. But he plays beautiful flute music. And oftentimes that's when I'm writing behind him is when he's playing his music. And it's just beautiful and inspiring. So we're always, not always, but we tend to go live if you want to just check us out. Other than that, yeah, come find out our festivals, our markets. We love doing this as a family. Even with my parents and Tony's parents, we love having all family around us as we share dance, music, and storytelling.
Well, thank you so much, Violet, for sharing your time and your stories with our audience today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And thank you everyone who tuned in. Thank you.
Yes, thanks to our audience for joining us. And please visit violetduncan.com so you can purchase copies of her books for all of the young folks in your life. Have a good day, everyone. Take care. Bye.